but I can't take credit for it.
Welcome back to the Taalib-Din Show. This is the second segment of The Power of Words, You Become What You Speak. I have here a panel of artists, performers, and talk show hosts. And my first guest here is Hamed Bey, my blood brother. Hamed is a capoeira personal trainer instructor. He has his own business, and he's also an artist, a music artist. Welcome to the show, Hamed.
Thank you, Tahira.
Our next guest is Nika Hat Nefertari. She's also a poet. She's a community organizer. She puts on open mic events to spread consciousness, and she's also a friend of mine. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
And we have Arafat Akbar representing the B-Town, Boston. He is an entrepreneur. He has his own entertainment company, Lightspeed Entertainment. He is a rapper, hot MC, and also a father. Welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here. Glad to be here.
And we have back again Sabir Bey. Need no introduction. You know who he is. Just Google him and you will find him. Welcome back, Sabir.
Peace, thank you, and peace to all the panels. Oh yeah,
Peace.
I can't be your brother.
we working on it. This portion of the show is basically focusing on 3 points with the power of words. We're going to focus on the music aspect because you all are artists. We want to focus on how have music influenced you and why are you a part of the music world and what do you want to contribute and bring to it. We're going to focus on the self. How have your own words either destroyed or built you and your self-esteem and in your world around you. And we're going to focus on the children. How have words influenced children, whether they tear them down or, again, they build the children up. So real quick, I want to ask you, Hamed, how long have you been a music artist?
Well, I started writing probably when I was 11 years old and actually started to record when I was 15 with my brother-in-law. So I've been in it for a minute, just writing, performing on underground scene and in schools. So I've been doing it for a while.
Okay. And who's your brother-in-law?
His name is Fahim, after Elemental from Earthquake Entertainment. And he's been doing it for over 20-something years, trying to do his thing,
right.
Independent, conscious artist.
Okay. And what inspired you to become a rapper?
Rakim, Run DMC, KRS-One, who else? Solicit artists, but I see how they pretty much were like, people looked at them and they had something to say. Their message was deep.
Right.
And coming up, you know, parents from the Nation of Islam, then the Orthodox Sunni Islam, we were always taught the knowledge of self and, you know, presenting yourself, being strong, looking out for your community, looking out for your brothers and sisters. So, you know, that kind of like brought me to that that point of being an MC.
And doing for self, because you are an entrepreneur.
Yes, I am.
Tell us briefly about your school.
Well, I'm a professor of the art of capoeira, which is a Brazilian art form created by the Brazilian indigenous people of Brazil. And I started that probably 7 years ago with my teacher, Professor Max. He's in the U.S. military right now. He's stationed in Italy, and that was his choice. So, you know, I respect him for that. We started after coming back from Brazil in 2001. We decided to open up our school in 2002 in the local playground on 104th Street, right next to Douglas Projects. So then from there, you know, it's New York City. The winter came around. We couldn't be out there all day in the winter, freezing our bones off. So we found the home at Watley Secondary High School, which is part of the Beacon program. So we've been there for the past 7 years, doing our thing.
And you keep your work in the community.
Indeed, in Harlem. We're in Harlem, but we go all out. We travel. We can go California, Canada, wherever. But we went to Bermuda, actually, did a couple of workshops.
Okay.
But pretty much we're based in Harlem.
All right, thank you. Nika Hat Nefertari, please, before we even get into your questions, can you tell us what your name means?
Yes, I can. Actually, I'm a member of the United Nawapian Nation Worldwide, and we have an order called the Ancient Egyptian Order, where everyone has an Egyptian name because we believe that tones and language is important. So my Egyptian name is Nika Hat Nefertari, and it means she who belongs to the house of the beautiful one on Nefertari, which is the inner beauty.
Okay, and how long have you been a part of the Nawapian tribe?
Well, actually, I'll be 31 in July, and we have gone through different schools, our nation. And when I came into the teachings, we were in the Ansarul Law School, so I was a Muslim. And I did this when I was 14 years old. And my mom's gonna kill me, but she knows I was a Muslim and she wasn't. So I basically went out on my own, so I can connect with young people that they have something in their heart and they want to be true to themselves.
Right.
And that's what I did. So that makes me the person I am today.
Okay.
So,
And that leads us to, you are a poet, and you actually inspired me to write and go on the stage and memorize my work, so I really appreciate you and am grateful to you for that. How long have you been a poet?
Well, I've been writing for a very, very, very long time. I've been doing fiction works from the elementary school age. I did poetry as well. A lot of it got lost, but as I got older, junior high school, like when I became an answer, I was like writing like political stuff and spiritual, inspired type poetry. So right now I'm in grad school, so I'm like on a whole nother level now. So my poetry says a lot more. I can express myself a whole lot better. So being on a different level and all the growth that I've been through from when I was a child, coming up, being taught by Malachi Z. York, MK York, very influential in what I do. So it's been like a growth experience since I was a child.
All right. Thank you. And Arafat from Boston. Tell us, how long have you been a music artist, and why did you decide to become an artist?
Well, I was, before I can even remember, I was writing poetry, and I think it may have even started in, just from school, they have in K1, in first grade, they have you do exercise and you write little poems and stuff like that, and it caught on then. And then I remember, it's kind of funny, because I always listened to rap, but then I never decided to rap until I heard Biggie Smalls. So I heard Biggie, and that sent me on a trip. I recorded, I had a tape deck or whatever else. I recorded my first song, brought it to school, and got laughed out the building. Since then, I got laughed out of many buildings, but people ain't laughing no more.
They showing up not laughing. Okay. And what inspired you to become a rapper?
Well, I mean, it started with Biggie Smalls. It was really just the flavor of rap. It was, particularly his flavor. Okay. But, yeah, just the flavor. Well, I wasn't necessarily into the messages that much. I wasn't much of a KRS fan or even Public Enemy. I mean, I like some of their songs, the ones that were popular. But I just like the flavor of hip-hop. And, as I became conscious, then I moved into a conscious form of hip-hop.
Okay. All right. I could relate to that. Okay. This is for whoever wants to answer. What impact has music had on you all growing up? For anyone.
Well, actually, music has changed a lot. There's a lot of symbolism, and symbolism is important in African culture. The tone, the way from drumming, spoken word, singing, coming up through where it became synthetic. Growing up in the 80s, the music had a lot of soul. Now it's kind of like watered down. I feel like music is a tool. It can make you or it can break you.
Right.
You can gain your soul or you can lose your soul.
Right.
Also, lyrics are important. And it's important that with the youth, we expose them to things like James Brown. You know what I'm saying? And help bring back the soul into the music. Because it's all about the message, what we're going to do with that message, and how we're going to tune ourselves with nature. I think it's very important. People take it lightly, but it's not to be taken lightly, because music is very influential, so.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to touch on that?
I just think it's definitely a voice, and for people who might not have that voice, this is a way for them to express their freedom. And I mean, we see a lot of things going on in our communities, whether it's in the suburbs or it's in the inner city or even in just on a farm.
Right.
You know, it's like you able to say, you know, share with the world what other people might not see. Some people might see it another way. You like kind of like giving you a different analogy. So I mean, I like it. I like music because I mean, I can like it takes me on to different planes.
Right.
Like listening to Gaelic music, listening to Native American music is different, and it's kind of like what she was saying, the different tones and all that. It's kind of channel, like take you on different realms and all. It's like to kind of like it's some things that you can't really explain, but it's as a level. It's kind of like yeah, it's an experience that you have, and it takes you on higher heights. That's what I love about different kinds of music.
Right.
You know.
And that kind of that just leads into the three-part question. How does music move the soul, and why is music so influential? And do you agree that music is infectious? And if yes, how so? Anyone? Yes. I would like to hear from Severe Bay, because I know that you're doing this this hip hop decoded this project, and I know you really are heavily into the hip hop world. So what makes music capable of moving the soul, and why is it so influential? And do you agree that music is infectious, and if so?
It is, and what it does, you know, I remember growing up listening to, like, my father and we used to listen to OJ's, you know, Family Reunion, what's the other, you know, Love Train, you know, stuff that touches your soul, you know what I mean? And as I'm seeing this thing shift, even in the probably like the mid 80s, when stuff started changing, and it started making, the music wasn't there like it used to be. Hip hop is not, you know, I heard somebody say rap. You don't rap, you do hip hop. Hip hop is totally different. So I had to correct that. Hip hop is something you live, rap is something you do, totally different. You know, so they started changing it, and those that's in control is understood how that touches your psyche. Like Brother Hamed was saying, it touches you, and it makes you think a certain way, make you, you know, more calmer. You know what I mean? Like the Gaelic music, I listen to Gaelic music also, but that's our music, you know, the Gaelic music. But it touches something inside you, and it also will make you, you know, like, how can I put it? It'll soothe you. You know what I mean? You won't be radical. You won't be, you know what I mean? It's like, and they tapped into that and knew that they can shift it to make us react a certain way. You know, so they had to change the music, you know. So, I mean, we just have to get back into that. I mean, that's it. That's about it.
It's like right now I see it's like a dumbed down process.
Yeah, it's a dumbing down.
Where the people, they don't really think, and it's like they control people with chaos. So if you have music that's not, you know, causing people to think, they capitalize off our ignorance.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it's like now you see people out there who's making all the money, and for a conscious MC, it's kind of hard to like speak to a child or speak to my students and say, you know, that music is not really elevating you, and it's not really good music. I mean, you might get a message out of it, but it's not really productive. But then when they see, you know, any artist out there with gold chains on, nice cars and nice houses and money, for them, they're like, this is a material world.
Right.
And that's how corporate did to us. You know, they conquered us that way. So now here I'm coming like a poor righteous teacher, you know, able to pay my bills or whatnot, living, enjoying life, and teaching them about, you know, water, air, fire, earth, elevating themselves. They're like, man, you broke, you don't got no money. What's your chain? What's this? What are you saying? You know, girls want to shake their booties, boys want a Superman, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's kind of like a losing battle, and this was all constructed to kind of like take away the beauty, the soul.
Right.
You
and
know?
That's something that Nika mentioned as far as like just being removed from nature and how important nature is in the process. Like they took away the spiritual side of the music. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine, Amiona from Boston. She actually helped me with the questions. Thank you so much. We were talking about how we can play a song in a car and we just take on that personality, like, you know, diva. I'm a diva, like getting money, you know, just getting all that. You like, hey, you walking around like I don't need you, but then you come back like, hey, you know what I'm saying? I'm going off. So the music, it does kind of it can control you.
Psychology.
That's
yes.
It's biggest form of psychology.
And so you pretty much like touched on it, like the industry, it doesn't support conscious music because it's more of just all capitalism. They just do it just to control the people and also to gain a profit. What are some ways people like us can support independent artists such as yourselves?
I would say there's a venue for people like us. I have a lot of friends in the UK, and from like years ago, I knew that overseas is the place to go. And you also have the underground scene here as well in the States, but that's kind of like getting oversaturated with the commercial, the corporate kind of mentality. But I know it in Japan, the UK, France, Germany, and all these countries out there support real hip hop. So sooner or later, we're gonna have to look towards them to see how, you know, to learn our culture again. That's what I've learned like back in the days, and now it's still heavy.
Okay.
So overseas is the place to go as well, just to broaden your horizons.
Anyone else?
I think we gotta realize that, you know, that this movement it has to start from the underground, and I think from the grassroots level we have to work together more, and not always, you know, want that big $1 million cut. You know what I'm saying? Like, we really have to start from the bottom and work together, and then once we do that, the wealth will come.
Right.
But first we have to work together and stop chasing dollars.
That's the common unity aspect.
Yeah, we need to have our own.
That's true.
That's what we need, to have our own and start taking control. Like myself, I'm looking more towards being part of the programming aspect of it, because whether you know it or not, if you see, it's turning back to that point again. We're going back to that conscious piece again, you know. And rather we want, again, nature. Let's leave it up to nature, because nobody wants to hear pop, lock, and drop it or stinky legs no more. It's like the more the more consciousness is coming back again, and it's us as DJs or VJs and talk show hosts and artists. You know, it's our job to keep pushing. You know, and that's why I would never stop. I'm in it from the womb to the tomb.
That's right, bro.
Okay. We're gonna move through, and we're going to focus on the self, and the power of words, because the children may not have full control of what they listen to, but we have some control over how we treat ourselves. And what I want to know is what are some of the deconstructive things that you all said to yourselves in your process of going after a project or in your process of just developing? What are some things you all said to yourself that were not reinforcing positivity or growth? And I want you to keep in mind that children will watch the show. So this is not a process to just reveal weakness. This is a process to show a point from where you came from and how you moved through it, and how we can inspire and encourage. Because that's one of the missions of my show, to inspire people to live their best life through talk television. So it's not to belittle you or show your weakness. It's actually to show your strength through where you came from. So what are some of the thoughts, the words that you all said?
Can I answer that?
Yes.
Never give up. Never give up.
Yep.
And if it's one book that everybody, they can say this is an advertisement, read The Alchemist. Never give up, and don't ever allow somebody to say that you cannot do it. I'm gonna tell you.
But have that always been your model, or
Yes.
was it something that you came to, that you build on?
It was funny because it's before I even read the book, but it made it more clearer when I read that piece. It was talking about never allow somebody to say that you can't do something, because everything that you're already looking for is inside you. You're going to have people that say, oh, you can't do that, that's not going to happen, but you never stop. And my motto is get right or get left, and I will not lose. That's me.
That's very,
Okay, all right.
That's me.
I feel that there. I was having a conversation with my fiance last night, and we was talking about my music. And before, I used to feel like, you know, studying everything, kind of like going over people's head a little bit. And I was like, man, they're not going to feel my music because it's not going to make sense to them. So I was kind of beat myself down. And like now, I feel that, you know, my music is strong. I have more confidence. And then the people that listen to my music, they all gave me positive feedback. So they're kind of like, you know, fortified that. And then just telling her that, I said, yo, I know I'm going to make it. I know I'm going to do it right. And then for her, like, to smile, that was like, like all the world to me, because you know, I mean, the sisters, the queens, they're real. They keep it real with us. So like, okay, how much money you gonna make with this? So I was like, this is the see her smile, kind of like, okay, yeah, you gonna do this, make it happen.
All right, thank you. Would you like to touch on this?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I always like to test my poetry on somebody, and it's always my mom. So I would read my poetry to her. She'd be like, "You're talking too fast. You're talking too fast," and I have to slow down. And then when I slow down, I look at her and I'm like, "Why do you look like that?" And she said, "What are you saying?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? What am I saying?" She said, "It's too deep. You gotta be simple. You gotta be simple. No one's gonna understand you." I'm like, "Mom, but this is who I am." So at the high school where I work, we had an African American reading, and they invited me and they said, "We want you to read your poetry." So I said, "Fine." So I'm sitting down at the drawing table. I'm like, "Should I take out these words because they may not understand it?" I'm like, "You know what? I'm gonna keep the words in there." So I go in to the classroom and I write down vocabulary words on the board.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, planet risk. I'm like, okay, Henu. And I'm writing on down these words. And they're like, what is that? I'm like, okay, I'm going to explain to you. So I started talking about the higher senses, like telepathy and psychometry and stuff like that. And I said, when I'm done, you understand what I'm saying. So I read the poetry the way I wrote it, my terminology. And when I was done, they were like, we know what you're talking about. But the key was that I educated them. I didn't go in there and dumb them down. And I'm glad my mother said that to me, but at the same time, people have to realize that I want to take them to another place.
That's right.
You know, I want to elevate as well. So that's one of the negative things that I get sometimes, you know.
Briefly, Arafat, do you choose to touch on this?
Going along with what you said about knowing thyself, I think when I started out, I wasn't doing conscious music. I actually remember getting in trouble when my big sister found my lyrics one day and read them. So I learned that I can be myself. I don't have to do it. I don't have to rhyme like what's on the radio. I don't have to sound like anybody else, but I can do me and make that popular. And that was the main thing I went to.
And that's something you told me last night, because I was panicking like, oh my gosh, I'm going to interview Sabir Bey, and this is going to go out there, and I'm watching Dr. Phil, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to sound like them. I'm not going to sound like I know what I'm talking about. He's like, yo, just be yourself. And I was like, I'm just simple. I'll be fine just being simple, and I'll move from there and just like embracing the whole process. Well, we have to move through because time is running out. We're going to touch on the children. I'm going to give like a quick story. I was working at a summer camp last year with a 5-year-old girl, and she tried on my earrings, looked in the mirror. I said, look in the mirror, you like the earrings? She was covering her face. I'm like, why are you covering your face? She said, I'm not pretty. I said, why do you think you're not pretty? She said, because my daddy doesn't say I'm pretty. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like a 5-year-old girl growing up, not thinking she's pretty. So you can see where the story can end, the possibility of where that story can end. So briefly and quickly, what role does the family play in protecting and establishing the self-esteem of a child through their words? And I'm going to touch on the fathers quick, because I know you guys are parents still and all. Arafat, Sabir, and Hamed, quickly.
All right. Well, yeah, I have a 5-year-old. Well, actually, she's turning,
7.
She's turning 6. She's turning 6 today.
Oh.
And, Jayla, love you, peace. And she sets the bar for my music. If she can't listen to it, then I can't do it. And I mean, in terms of, you know, her self-esteem, it's really about, and me grooming her, it's just letting her know who she is and where she comes from. And I think that's the main thing you can do. I mean, because we as people, we have such a strong history. I think that's all you need to do, you know?
Thank you. Sabir?
Wow. I mean, the parents, that's deep what you just said there. I'm just still bugging off what you said, man.
There's more stories too.
Yeah, they real stories, man. I like my sons, man. I tell them they could be anything they want to be. I mean, I don't have no daughters though, but I always encourage my sons to do anything. You know, and any child. I mean, it could be his children, and I mean, and say, look, you know, you are beautiful. There's a sister, Amers she's a poet, very good friend of mine. And she has a poem called, can't think of the poem, and she was talking basically about her hair, about how you're beautiful. It's called Sister to Sister. And if anybody heard that track, man, it's very good because it touches me because she's saying things that I may be thinking. You know what I mean? So it's up to us, you know, to do this, to talk to our children.
All right. I'm going to just move through just for the sake of time.
Yeah.
You're an educator. We all parents, one form or another. I work with children, so I'm a parent. I didn't give birth, but I work with children. How oftentimes do you find yourself casting judgment on a child? And when you find yourself casting that judgment, how do you move through that frame of thinking? Because again, parents will be watching the show also who may have challenges with that.
Sister educator.
We have 2 minutes.
Compassion.
Okay.
Compassion and love. Just
Okay.
think I used to be there once, you know, and now you're there, so I'm going to pass on that love to you.
Okay. Arafat, would you like to touch on this?
I would say one of my struggles is in trying to prepare a child that's strong enough to deal with the stuff that we got going on in this world. I think sometimes I can be tough, and I would say what she says, just about, you know, having compassion and remembering that, you know, in the end she's gonna be all right.
Thank you. Now we are preparing the children for this world that's out here. Why do you feel it's important for parents and adults to not dumb down a conversation versus challenge your child with real talk? That's age appropriate. Why do you feel it's important to give your children real talk versus baby, it's okay kind of talk? Why do you feel it's important to be real with the children?
But the reality is going to kick in when they get older, and they're going to be mad at you.
Oh, yes.
To me, the reality is going to kick in.
Yes.
You know, I had this same conversation with my mother. Rest her soul, she passed away last year. And I used to always say to my mother, you know, you tell the children that there's an Easter bunny and the Easter, but they grow up and know there is no Easter bunny. There is no Santa Claus. See what I'm saying? So you might as well be truthful with the children, because when they grow up, like myself, be upset with the parent.
Yes.
Instead of giving it to them straight and forward.
That's true.
Don't say what a child cannot handle. If a child, listen, they're smart until we dumb them down.
That's right.
They're very smart.
And
Just
then
pay
they go out
attention
there
to
and
them.
learning hard lessons
Yes.
and going through a whole
Yes.
bunch of brick walls.
Yes.
And you and I are brothers and sisters, so we
I
understand.
got the scar right here.
Yeah, and it's deep because when the child get out there in the world and we're taught a certain way, we're looking at the reality and we're like, dang, they set us up for failure. That's what we have in our minds, even though they did the best they could do, what they know. So I mean, I would say definitely talk to your children. Don't hide anything from them. If you want to say don't do that, or you should say explain to them why you shouldn't go that direction.
That's right.
Give them the two options, the two highways, as we were taught growing up.
And that's most important. That's what I do with the children at my job. Is I give them options. It's
That's
not
right.
you're not going to do this because I said so. You're going to have multiple choices. Real quick, 20 seconds. Why should people tune in to the Tahira Show?
Because Tahira's the realest, she's the illest. She's cool, she's my sister. Let's do it.
I support the African woman everywhere.
She's keeping it real, and she knows Sabir.
And we need this type of forum out here. That's why you should tune into it. All
I
right?
want to thank you all for participating and spreading awareness to the people, because this is all about the people.
Yes.
Thank you all for tuning in, and continue to tune in, and we'll be back next time to give you more. Thank you.
Peace.
Peace.
My sister so fly, so fly. My sister so fly, so fly, so fly. My sister so fly, so fly. Said my sister so